Good Monday evening, everyone. Welcome to our second episode of New York, New York, a baseball podcast dedicated to the New York Yankees and New York Mets. I'm your host, Kenny, and I'm here with my co-host, as always, Paul. Paul, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing well. Hope you're doing just as well, Kenny. I think we're both doing better than Shohei Ohtani at this point.
Yeah, you know what? And our show is dedicated mostly to Yankees and Mets, but when we have some news, we'll talk about it in our intro or wherever we feel is proper. So why don't we get right into it? News broke out the other day while the Padres and Dodgers were playing a regular season game in Korea uh, that Shohei Ohtani's interpreter, I'm not going to butcher his name, I'm not going to even attempt, uh, caught gambling, and the Dodgers ended up firing him. Brief story on that. Shohei Ohtani took out a $4.5 million wire transfer. Uh, I think there's going to be more to the story than comes, Paul. I just don't see someone with an interpreter's salary being able to gamble $4.5 million away. So we're going to see what baseball has in store for this. We'll see if there's more stories that come out for it. But we'll let you get your quick word on it, and then we'll move on to the Yankees and Mets stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you, Kenny. Dodgers came out with a statement. Ohtani read a statement saying he did not bet on baseball. He totally admitted that there was no involvement whatsoever. But that being said, there seems to be a lot of layers to this. If in fact he didn't give him the money, how did the interpreter get into his account? Why would he have access to his account, et cetera, et cetera? So there's going to be a lot of levels of investigation that Major League Baseball is going to have to do regarding this. And this story, unfortunately, in the shadow of Ohtani signing with the Dodgers, is going to cast a bigger shadow than even he expected for the Dodgers and Major League Baseball.
And our good friend Eddie Murphy. What's up, Eddie? He's
Hey,
saying
Eddie.
Ohtani needs to be banned, but because the money he brings
Mm,
in, Major League Baseball won't even suspend him. And
mm.
Eddie's saying, I'm sure the Reds said Rose didn't bet either. LOL.
Right.
Yeah, all joking aside, and we'll get probably do a little more on this on Wednesday. But I mean, all joking aside, because he's the face of baseball, he may get away with it if and they may just look the other way. But and I said this to Kurt plenty of times in football. If Mahomes was caught cheating, would they suspend him for the whole year? Highly doubt it. So it's
Mm.
going to take one of these stars to get caught, and then we're going to see rules. All of a sudden, it's going to be a slap on the wrist, and the rules are going to change. So curious to see what happens because Eddie nailed it. He does bring in a lot of money from Major League Baseball all around the world, and he's a figure all around the world. So curious to see what happens there. But yeah, anything else, Paul, on the Otani thing, or we'll get into our Yankee Mets show?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, we'll talk about it more on our Wednesday show.
Okay, so let's get the show started. We did this in our debut show, called this segment "What's Wrong With," and it's our weekly or bi-weekly. We did what's wrong with the Yankees, what's wrong with the Mets. I'm going to go first, Paul, because mine's going to be
It's
simple.
fine.
First week I went against Stevie Cohen. This week, what's wrong with the Mets? Okay, we know your pitching is subpar. It's probably going to be bottom of the starting pitching is going to be at the bottom of the barrel. Okay, you went out and signed J.D. Martinez. Great signing to bolster your offense, but you're not the Savannah Bananas. For those who don't know, the Savannah Bananas is a dance entertainment baseball team, and the Mets are starting to slowly turn into them by hiring a dance team to perform between innings. Is this more entertainment, or are we there for the Mets? So I'm making it clear and simple. That's what's wrong with the Mets. Jordan Montgomery's sitting out there. Go get a pitcher. Senga's starting on the DL, correct, Paul?
That is correct.
He's your ace. our ace as well. But this is me. What's wrong with the Mets? Don't worry about dance teams. Don't worry about being the Savannah Bananas. Go and be the New York Mets. Go out and get a Jordan Montgomery pitcher to be a veteran on that pitching staff, because Carlos Quintana, Luis Severino, Sean Manaea is not going to cut it. Okay, I'm tired of hearing about next year, next year, next year. Your fans pay for this year. Okay, your fans are paying for this year, not to watch a dance team, but to watch a baseball team. That's what's wrong with the Mets, Paul, this week.
Thank you, Kenny K. All right. So what's wrong with the Yankees? Not so much the Yankees, but once again, this crazy Yankee fan had the following to say: Fernando Tatis Jr. should become a Yankee. Why? If he was in New York, he would be more famous than Derek Jeter. Well, let's talk about Fernando Tatis's relatively short career in baseball. Playing for San Diego, he's had multiple injuries in his career. Even the San Diego people have called him mature, playing in San Diego, one of the smallest towns in Major League Baseball. Could you imagine an immature player like that playing in New York? He's been suspended 80 games for illegal PED usage, and he's had multiple injuries, one of which was caused by his motorcycle accident, which, why, if you're a player, are you on a damn motorcycle? Leave that for Hell's Angels people, okay? Uh, he's comparing him and being better than Derek Jeter. Even as a Mets fan, I will admit, Derek Jeter, in my mind, is the epitome of New York Yankees royalty. He's all class. He's appreciated for his talent, his class, and his leadership. Leave Derek Jeter alone. He's arguably one of the great Yankees of all time, and he's a true Hall of Famer. Do never compare Fernando Tatis Jr. to Derek Jeter, and that's saying a lot because I'm a Mets fan.
Nice. I'm going to catch up on some comments, Paul. I guess that's that is wrong with the Yankees. I'll say it. I'll be first to admit. Definitely. So I don't disagree with you. Kurt's saying hello. New York boys. Mets go over
Hey,
win
Kurt.
total this year. Then next year, boom, Stevie goes nuts. He's also saying the Yankees need a stud pitcher. Bieber with Cole postseason would give them legit chance. I would take that, Kurt. That's Guardians might be looking to sell near the trade deadline, so that could be a nice pickup for sure. I like Shane Bieber, and he was hurt, so coming off an injury. Eddie's agreeing with me. Mets have a dance team. I think Eddie was typing this in as right before I was talking. Mets have a dance team, so they might as well be called the Savannah Bananas. And Stevie Cohen can have all the money in the world, but if they don't prove they can make playoffs every year, no free agents will head there. That's from Eddie as well. We did see some free agents not go there this year, so Eddie might be onto something there. Question from Jody before we get into our next.
Let me just respond to one thing. Stevie Cohen's money, the last I looked at, was green, the same as any other owner. So, and he seems to have a little more green than almost every other owner. So, leave it at that.
We'll have to see what the free agent market looks like next year, because Kurt's saying he's going to spend all the money. But you know what? If I got to see which pitchers are free agents, Kurt, because we'll have to look and go over that for next year for sure. Future show. Got a question from Jody. He wants to know, is the integrity of the game in jeopardy, Paul? This is going back to when we mentioned in Ohtani.
If it comes out that somehow he has bet on baseball, absolutely. Because like you said earlier, Kenny, he is the face of baseball. So if the face of baseball somehow is involved in this and knowingly is paying off bookmakers and a bookie and how deep it's going to go, that's a big hit. That's a real big hit to the integrity of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the integrity is already tainted. I mean, the PEDs, the guys getting caught with PEDs. You know, the integrity was lost years ago with the steroid era, and now players are still getting caught cheating. And you know, now this on top of it, I think it's tainted, but this would really, uh, you know,
Hmm.
ruin the integrity of baseball if the face of baseball is caught doing something he's not supposed to be doing. Eddie's saying about the Mets, only play about Stevie Cohen, only players who have AARP want to sign with the Mets. JD, Verlander, Max. There's our good friend Keith Brugman from the Denver Bronco Roundup. Great Denver
Hey, Keith.
Bronco podcast. We're doing baseball tonight, but if you want to check out an awesome football podcast revolved around the Denver Broncos, Denver Bronco Roundup, Keith Brugman, Trevor Saltzman, Albert Knoppers, Jody Moncrief. You can catch them on Tuesday nights and Friday nights. Best around, best in the business. I've been on their shows. They've been on ours. Uh, we're going to get them on our baseball shows. We'll have some fun. Keith's a big Angel fan, so I'd like to know about his Otani
Mm,
take a little bit, you know,
yeah.
what he thinks of this. But he's saying, start spreading the news, New York. New York is the podcast for your Mets and Yankees. Thanks, Keith. Love it.
Thank you, Keith.
And then Eddie Murphy saying, Paul, you were there. How did Rose get caught when there was no social media back then? LOL.
Yeah. They did a deep dive into the investigation. Bart Giamatti, the commissioner at the time, and they found out. And essentially, when they caught him, they said, "Look, you have little or no choice. Either sign away your the rest of your future in baseball, or admit it, and we'll move forward in that direction." So he wound up signing away. I mean, it comes down to he thought he can get away with it, and obviously he couldn't.
Yeah, you know, it might have been one of them things like that'd be a good question for Joey Clams because he used to do all the wagering back then in the 80s too.
Yeah,
So he might know a little better. We'll get that question for Joey Clams for you,
yeah,
Eddie. And I'm thinking it was kind of like if Paul was Pete Rose, I'm the bookie. I take his bet, and then it got leaked out that he was making bets, and it just got around and around all the way to the commissioner of baseball. So I think that's where the investigation probably had started.
yeah.
Word of
And
mouth, you know, people can't keep their mouths shut, kind of thing.
exactly. And he was betting on his own team. He was betting on not just baseball, but on his own team.
Hey,
I
he had
mean,
confidence in his team.
yeah, it's
Could have been betting against him.
crazy.
Uh,
Yeah.
all right, Paul, want to move on to our next segment? That was a cool "What's Wrong
Yes,
With."
sir. Hmm.
We're going to do our weekly. Back then, weren't most bets over payphones? LOL, payphones or yeah, code words,
Who,
etc.
who, right. Who said that, Eddie? I think he's watching
Yeah,
too many old time movies.
too much casino. Uh,
Right.
let's do. We got our little Mount Rushmore for the week, Paul. We do this each show, and you came up with this one, so I'll pass it off to you
Okay.
and tell us what we got this week.
We are doing the Mount Rushmore of all time Mets and all time Yankees. And I think it's a great difficult question this week, especially for Kenny as a Yankees fan, because of the number of not just great but Hall of Fame players that the Yankees have had over the years. So, but I'll start. It wasn't simple coming up with the four Mount Rushmore players, even for the Mets. And obviously, they haven't had the long, great history that the New York Yankees have had, but they still have had a number of great players. So, just to begin, I'll do some honorable mention of my Mount Rushmore of Mets. Uh, as crazy as it sounds, my honorable mention of Met Mount Rushmore includes Gary Carter, Jerry Koosman, great lefty pitcher for the Mets, Darryl Strawberry, and Doc Gooden, And as many people might say, how could they not be on my Mount Rushmore? But in my opinion, I have four others that, in my opinion, have had greater Met careers. And number four, I'm putting Mets all-time third baseman David Wright. Injuries cut down Wright's career, may have been even a Hall of Fame career, but uh, in terms of statistics, he's first or second in almost every major offensive category as a Met. Number three, in my opinion, Keith Hernandez. And Keith's being on the Mount Rushmore of the Mets, it goes beyond just statistics because he never hit a lot of home runs. He didn't have maybe the highest batting average, but his leadership, his ability when he came over, he was basically a manager on the field, and as a veteran, he led a lot of the younger Met players in 84, 85, 83, and that culminated in winning the championship in 86. So Keith is number three on my Mount Rushmore. Number two, uh, great Met, great major league hitter, player, Mike Piazza, Hall of Famer, went in as a Met, and arguably the greatest hitting catcher of all time. Mikey's hit some incredible home runs, including the home run after 9/11, the first game back to beat the Braves. Arguably, that was one of the great uh, games and hits of all time. And of course, my fourth Mount Rushmore is one word, the franchise. Tom Seaver, the greatest Met pitcher of all time, still holds most wins, record for most strikeouts, almost every pitching record in Met history. He was called the franchise for a reason. So my four are Tom Seaver, Mike Piazza, Keith Hernandez, and David Wright.
Nice. I got one from Eddie. He's doing his Yankee one from players he's seen: Mariano
Uh huh.
Rivera, Jeter, A-Rod, and Bernie Williams. My Met one is the one on
Nice.
on here, Paul. I am going Doc and Strawberry, the '86 team. I remember them. They wouldn't have been in the World Series without those two. Doc leading the pitching staff and Strawberry in the middle of the order. Uh, hey, Piazza's got to be on there. Got him from the
Mm-hmm.
Dodgers, and he really took to New York well and became the greatest catcher, Hall of Famer, and one of the best catchers in baseball history, and best catcher in Mets history for sure. And of course, the best Met, in my opinion, of all time, Tom Seaver, I think was a no-brainer to put on there as well. So that would be my four
Mm-hmm.
for the Mets.
Nice.
Excuse me. My Yankee ones, and I put this picture up there because I feel like you got three clear cut, and that's Babe Ruth, of course, the Bambino, the Sultan, the SWAT. You watch Sandlot, the great movie. They always reference Babe in there, and if he was playing in today's day with the juiced baseballs, he might hit 100 home runs. So
Mm.
Babe Ruth, arguably the best player in baseball history. Uh, Obviously on my Mount Rushmore is number one. Right behind him is the Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig. We all know what Lou Gehrig did as a Yankee back in the day. Historians, you don't have to be a historian to know Lou Gehrig. Of course, Mickey Mantle, big time favorite there. The guy crushed home runs and was hitting 600-foot home runs back then. Another guy I'd love to see in today's day on how far he'd hit home runs in a home run derby. And fourth, I got a couple of honorable mentions. Mariano Rivera is an honorable mention. Don Mattingly's an honorable mention. There's two ways I could have went here. Am I going to go Joe DiMaggio or Derek Jeter? Now, Derek Jeter, I've obviously seen play, and he's by far, one of the greatest Yankees I've ever seen play. Probably the greatest Yankee I've ever seen play. Him, Rivera, 1-1A, or I can go Joe DiMaggio. 56-game hitting streak. I'm going Joe DiMaggio on that Mount Rushmore. Nobody's ever going to beat that record of 56 games. But the intangible was that story I told a couple weeks ago when he would let the 10-year-old kids in under the fence to go watch the games for free. That to me is a true reason why he's on the Mount Rushmore not over Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter's a great person too, but 56-game hitting streak, you're never going to beat that. He belongs on the Mount Rushmore. You know, if we built an extension, Derek Jeter would be on there. And Jody's saying, Jeter, only if you got a fruit basket. That's good. But yeah, who would be your Yankee one, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you nailed the first three, and in my opinion, without a doubt, Jolton Joe DiMaggio has to be up there. In 1969, when they were celebrating the 100th anniversary of Major League Baseball, he was voted the greatest living player. Like you said, 56-game hitting streak. I think in 10 years, the Yankees won 9 World Series championships while he was on the team. Just an incredible player, hitter, leader of the Yankees, just one of the greats of all time. So I think you nailed it. Certainly Derek Jeter. If there was a fifth Mount Rushmore, we could put his face on there, and he'd certainly earn that. But I think you nailed it, and I would agree. Those 4 would be my Mount Rushmore of Yankee players.
Nice. Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Paul. I agree.
Yep.
You know, you can't go. The history of the Yankees is just, you know, any other team, Jeter and Rivera would be on there.
Right.
You know, Rivera, the best closer in baseball, and he's not even mentioned on the Mount Rushmore because of the history of the Yankees. Eddie put him on for current players. Yes, I agree with that, obviously. But, you know, for history, it's got to be these 4 guys.
Yeah. Can I just mention one other Yankee that both Mets and Yankee fans know and loved, or was beloved? Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra, maybe one of the most underrated Yankees, but clearly one of the great Yankees of all time.
Absolutely. Anything else on the Mount Rushmore this week, Paul?
No, wonderful, great job.
We're moving along great on our time here. All right, you know what time it's for? We know what time it is, Paul.
What time is it?
It's time for, where is it? Who's on first? We all know that popular. For those who didn't catch our first show, you all know that popular duo of Abbott and Costello, comedy duo, legends, Hall of Famers. Much to my surprise, I wasn't 100% sure, but I kid you guys not, and ladies and gentlemen, I am distant cousins with Lou Costello, the guy on the right there, from Abbott and Costello. Did you see the resemblance? Hey, Abbott. So for Halloween this year, I'm going to dress up as Costello, and Paul could be Abbott, and we could do the Who's on First for Halloween for you guys.
I agree.
Yeah,
that's a bet.
We're going to do that. We got that. We're going to do it. So for you all, we're going to do Abbott and Costello bit for K&K on Halloween this year. Can't wait for that. But Who's on First is a fun little segment that Paul and I came up with. It's just random questions. Anything goes. Audience participation. Audience throw anything out at us. If you want to know our favorite color, you can throw our favorite color out there. We don't care what it is. It's called Who's on First. Anything goes. And I'm going to throw an anything goes type question to start it off, Paul. And for the audience and everybody, Kevin Costner played in 3 baseball movies, well-known baseball movies. One in the middle there, Field of Dreams, amazing story. Bull Durham, the one on the right there, another underrated movie, and one that don't not too many people know. For the Love of the Game, played a pitcher for the Tigers, and I don't remember that one too much. But a simple question for you in the audience, Paul, is rank these three movies. I think everybody's going to probably agree with three, but I'm curious to see where everybody goes with one and two.
All right. Three will be The Love of the Game. I'm going to surprise a lot of people. I'm going to say Field of Dreams is number two. And to me, Bull Durham was a fantastic movie. To me, that was his best movie. I know people will disagree. How can you do that? That's sacrilegious. Field of Dreams, yada, yada, yada. But for me, I'm going with Bull Durham as my number one Kevin Costner baseball movie.
Yeah, you know what? I'm close, but I'm going to go For the Love of the Game 3. I'm going Bull Durham 2 and Field of Dreams 1 because I've watched Field of Dreams probably a dozen more times than Bull Durham.
Mm-hmm.
It just the movie never gets old for me. So,
Mm-hmm.
seeing the scene where his dad comes out and they have that Field of Dreams game now every year in Major League
Right.
Baseball.
Yep.
So that being alone, you know, that field in Iowa was still there after this movie
Mm-hmm.
was made over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And to me, that tells you something. That's iconic. And I would say Field of Dreams would get my vote as number one. This is clear 1, 2, 3 for me. Bull Durham, clear 2, and Love of the Game, clear 3 would be mine. Jody, I said anything goes. Jody's throwing a basketball question out there, Paul. Could Caitlin Clark play in the NBA?
Boy, there have been a lot of other females coming out of college that have uh, have been considered. I'll tell you what, the way the NBA is structured now, I'm going to say yes. I think she could play in the NBA right now. Yes.
You know what, Paul? I was going to say no, but you just brought up an amazing point. The way the NBA is structured now, with all the scoring and offense over defense,
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with you. Yeah, I'm going to 100% agree with you, Paul. I'm going to say yes. She could play. She could play, Jody. All right,
Hmm.
Paul. Uh, what's on second?
Yep. Let's talk about our breakout players for this year for the Mets and Yankees.
Breakout player
And
for the Mets and Yankees. And anybody, Jody, you're an Astro fan. You want to throw your Astros out there?
mhm,
Breakout player for your favorite for your team that you root for. Who's going to be your breakout player this year? Do you want me to go first, Paul, or you want to go
yeah,
first?
go ahead. Go ahead.
I had a couple guys in mind here. Could it be Volpe at shortstop? I think everybody's expecting that, but I'm going to go off the radar here. All the news with Soto and Judge in the outfield, and yeah, and pitching staff. Our third outfielder we got from the Red Sox, and I wasn't a big fan of him on the Red Sox, but I'm going to have to
Hmm.
learn to start liking him now because he's a Yankee.
Hmm.
Alex Verdugo,
Hmm.
left-handed bat at Yankee Stadium. I could see him hitting 20, maybe 25 home runs at that short porch, and being near the top of the order. Either the top of the order or middle of the order, around batting around sixth. Give me around the 270, 280 average and play some good defense. I think he may be a breakout player for the Yankees, and maybe even closer to like 290, 300 as a breakout season.
Nice. Nice. Yeah. That was a good pickup by them. I think he'll be, if he stays healthy, he'll be a good addition for them.
I agree. Joey's going Yonder Diaz for his Astros.
Nice. Okay. My breakout player is going to be a guy who's been there, but he had a down year last year. And initially, I thought maybe Francisco Alvarez will continue to build on his fairly decent rookie year, and even maybe Brett Beatty. But I went with a guy who in 2022 won the batting championship in the National League, but had an off year last year. So I think Jeff McNeil is going to bounce back. I think this year he's going to be healthy. He's not going to bounce between positions. They had him playing second, they had him left field, they had him right field at times, but I think he's going to be stationed more or less at second base this year. And if he can stay healthy, I think he's going to have a bounce back year with JD Martinez now in the lineup. Once he comes back up from the minor leagues, McNeil will have, I think, a better role in terms of what the expectation is of him. And it's just to get on base, get clutch hits, and knock in some runs. So for me, I think a key to the is going to be a guy like Jeff McNeil to have a breakout season for the Mets.
Yeah, it's a good one, Paul. I like that. I'm going to throw just a couple more out there that I think could be possibilities because I had said I had a couple, but I wanted to go
Uh huh.
Alex Verdugo. Uh, my first one is going to be Garrett Cole is hurt. Somebody's got to step up on this pitching staff. You have Cortez and Rodon coming off injuries. You got Stroman coming over from the Cubs. You have Louis Gill, who's going to be the fifth starter as a rookie. But the one guy that was there last year and got a full season in was Clark Schmidt, our number 4 starter. He had a 4.6 ERA. I could see that ERA getting a little lower, maybe around the 4, and I could see him getting some run support and having a nice little sleeper season with the Yankees with Garrett Cole out. He could be looking for a breakout season as well. And then my last one, Paul, DJ LeMahieu started off on the DL.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oswaldo Cabrera, because our other young player, Oswald Peraza, is hurt as well. Cabrera's getting a shot at third. Maybe he can have a breakout season, gets the playing time at third base and gets off to a hot start and doesn't look back. But I like Verdugo and I like Schmidt as my top 2 breakouts. Do you have any others off the top of your heads that you think can break out?
Just again, the 2 young kids, Beatty and Alvarez, to add to their young careers at this point.
Okay. Time for I don't know who's on third, and I got a simple one for everybody, a fun one. You go to the ballpark, right? If you can only have one food at the ballpark, what would it be? And Paul, if you're going to Citibank Field, what is that one food you must have at Citibank Field?
Yeah, Shake Shack opened up when Citi Field opened up, so I would go Shake Shack hamburger and fries. That would be my
Wow.
go-to food.
Well, mine is going to be old school. Mine is going to, a lot of these on here, but it is one of them on there.
Mm.
And it's funny because I'm not a huge fan. Like, I'm a fan, but I'm not a huge fan. But if I can only have one on this list, I'm going to pretzel. But it's a New
Wow,
York
nice.
Yankee pretzel, kind of after the game. When the game's over, you got these guys with shopping carts
Right.
and these little grills, and they grill
Yep.
these pretzels that look like that pretzel on the screen. And let me tell you, it's the most amazing thing in the world getting these pretzels. Kurt, if you're listening, I know he's a
Uh-huh.
big fan. He's a big fan, but Kurt will like it just with the salt. You give me a little of that spicy mustard with the
Uh-huh.
pretzel, and I'm good. That's what I can. If you told me I can only have one, but you give me peanuts, give me the hot dog, give me Cracker Jacks. Popcorn I could do without, but peanuts would be a
Right.
close second because I just like making
Yeah.
the mess that you
Right.
see on it.
Right.
You can't do that anywhere else except at a
No,
ballpark where you can just throw the shells on the ground. So,
that's so true.
and the
Absolutely.
poor people, hey,
Which
they got a job, right? But the poor people that got to clean up after us, and the ball
right,
players with
right.
their sunflower seeds.
Uh, it's so
Well,
funny you mentioned those pretzels. That's so funny.
yeah, I don't
Uh,
know if they got them at Citibank, but they got them at Yankee Stadium. for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yep.
Giant Stadium, they used to have. You remember them at Giant Stadium, Paul?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, yep, they're really
Absolutely.
good. Yep.
That's so
Uh,
funny.
Real quick, I got one off topic. It's not really off topic, but it's just a rapid fire one. Sunflower seeds or bubble gum, Paul, when you were playing or played baseball?
As crazy as this sounds, neither. I just didn't like something in my mouth when I was playing. But if you had to put a gun to my head, I would say bubble gum.
I would go either the bazooka or double bubble
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah,
bubble gum. My
exactly.
dad used to
Yeah.
buy the little 25-cent drinks, and he would bring them out like the fifth inning, come with a crate of those drinks, the little chugs, the little,
Right, right, right. Yep,
yeah,
yep.
we used to have those too. A good friend, Clayton, saying, "Hey guys, smash the like
Hey,
button and
Clayton.
Denver Broncos for life." Thank Clayton. Good to see you
Hey,
as
Clayton.
always. Uh, all right, so I don't know third base. So, back to who's on first.
Let's do our favorite opening day moment or an opening day moment that you might have had that you remember.
Uh, I don't have too many that I never went to an opening day, uh, but one that I remember was all the hype about Hideki Matsui 2003, and came over. And I remember this game because it was snowing. It was really cold. I was at work. We were listening and watching on the tiny little TV we had, and his first at bat, Godzilla crushed it into the bleacher creatures. So I do remember that one.
Mhm.
And he had a nice career with the Yankees. But yeah, I was ecstatic in that cold. They were saying how cold it was. The ball wasn't traveling well, and he just crushed that ball into the about probably say 420, 430 feet into the bleacher creatures.
Mhm. Nice, nice. Yeah, I went to a couple of opening day games. Um, when I was a kid, like when I was 13, and your parents allowed you to go to games with no problem going on public transportation. Now, God forbid, that would never happen. But the Mets won a game, a shutout against the Giants. Um, I went to with my son 2009. I went to see when the Mets opened City Field, very first game there. But the one game I do remember, ironically, and you mentioned the year, 2003. The Mets had just gotten Tom Glavine after that great career with the Braves. The Mets signed Tom Glavine, and you mentioned it was snowing. It wasn't snowing that day, but it must have been that same stretch. It was without a doubt the coldest day I've ever gone to a baseball game. And the funny part about it was earlier that day, I had a job interview. So I went on the job interview like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. And then from there, drove to, at that time, Shea Stadium. And I brought my clothes and it was freezing. And I was changing my clothes from a suit and tie into stuff to wear into Shea Stadium. And of course, you're getting ready. Tom Glavine is going to pitch the first game for the Mets, and he got bombed. He got destroyed. I think after 2 or 3 innings, the Mets were losing 10 or 12 nothing to the Cubs. It was freezing. It was like a game in December at Giant Stadium, rather than a baseball game. And I wound up staying, I think, basically to almost like the seventh or eighth inning. Mets wound up losing the game 15-2. Not a great first game for Tom Glavine, but just the fact that it was opening day, as cold a game as you'll ever want to see, but just a inauspicious debut for a great pitcher.
Well, you said opening day, but I'm going to go off script here, Paul, and tell
Uh huh.
you guys a quick 30-second story. You said 15-2. Well, Kurt will remember this one too. Went down to the Jersey Shore, Long Beach Island, for Memorial Day weekend. I forget what year it was, but it was probably around 2001, 2002 season. And my friend had tickets for Yankees Red Sox, and I'd never been to a Yankee Red Sox game. So down in Long Beach Island, Memorial Day weekend,
Hmm.
decide to go. So I drive back home to North Jersey, Garfield, and my friend picks me up, and we go to the game. And it took me the normal 2 hours to get home from the Jersey Shore because there was no traffic going up. Because this was Saturday, and but getting to New York City took us another 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours. The traffic on I-95 to get over to try and get there. So a good 5 hour trip for me. We get there, bottom of the first inning. We've always left in plenty of time to get to the game. When we got there, bottom of the first, good old Carl Pavano's pitching, and we're down 7-0 in the first inning.
Oh my God!
As we're getting in, this is how bad a day it was. As we get into as we're walking to our seats, third base line, a screeching foul ball comes. I reach my hand up off my fingertips. You want to talk about pain?
Oh my God!
So I didn't get the foul ball. I stuck my hand up. By the third inning, we were down, I think, 14-2 or 14-3, something like that.
Wow!
Never left the game early. We left in the fifth inning. We said, "You ready to go back down to the shore?" My friend Jim said, "Yes, I am." We went down and we stayed for the whole weekend. We got down there about another 2.5, 3 hours it took us to get down there. So
boy.
A big waste of a day thanks to Carl Pavano. So yeah, not a memorable moment I'm fond of, but one that I wanted to share.
What was Carl Pavano's nickname? Didn't he have a nickname that somebody gave him?
I can't
With
remember.
the Yankees. It'll come to me. Anyway, boy, what a story.
Yeah. Not one I'm proud of.
No.
Thank you, Carl Pavano. But all right, I got another one, Paul. We had a list of stuff. I see we got a couple more minutes, so maybe we'll do a couple more of these, and then we'll get our predictions for the season.
Okay.
Give me your most overrated and underrated Met. I saw you had this one down, so I'm going to steal it from you.
No problem. I had a couple of guys on my list of underrated, and actually, it was 1 and 1A. So one would probably be, and unfortunately, he passed away recently, but just a glue to the 1969 and 73 Met teams. Of course, 69 world champions, and the Mets won the National League pennant and played Oakland in the 73 series. But Buddy Harrelson, never a big hitter, but a Gold Glove winner on defense, one of the great players in Met history, very steady, helped the Mets pitching staff tremendously, just a very good all-round player. So he would be one. My second one is one of my favorite Mets of all time, very underrated. Just a guy that no matter where you put him, second base, third base, when they got other players, they moved him around. He could even play shortstop in a pinch. But Edgardo Alfonso, I loved him as a hitter, just a great contact hitter, developed power over the years playing second. There was a famous Sports Illustrated when Sports Illustrated was still in business of the Mets infield at the time. John Olerud at first, Robin Ventura at third, Ray Ordonez at short, and Edgardo Alfonso. And they said, is that the best infield of all time? Of course, defensively. But Fonzie, they called him, was a great fielder, great hitter. Just I met him a couple of times. Actually lived in my neighborhood in Queens. Just a nice guy, and very, very underrated. So those two would be my most underrated Mets. My most overrated Met. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying nice. Yeah. No, I don't.
Thanks.
I didn't do Mets. I just did Yankees. So.
Oh, okay. You want my most overrated Met?
Yeah, give me a Met. Give me your overrated Met.
A guy that they signed as a free agent, got off to a horrible start, just could not stand this guy, Jason Bay. He had played at Pittsburgh and was successful. Went up to Boston, played in, as you know, Boston is just almost as bad, if not worse, for players than New York. Played and was successful with the Red Sox. They signed him to a 4-year deal, and he was horrible. Just couldn't stay healthy. When he was healthy, he could not hit. I think he was the kind of guy that just did not handle the pressure of being in New York. And for what he was supposed to do, being a big hitter in the middle of the Met lineup, he was horrible. So Jason Bay would be my most overrated Met of all time.
I remember him. He was good. He was one of those prime examples of can play in the smaller markets, but once the spotlight's on you, can't do it. Couldn't do a thing. And I liked him when he was on the Pirates. I actually,
Yeah.
I was a fan of his. But then I remember watching him
Hmm.
with the Mets and like nothing. He couldn't do nothing. Never did anything in a big spot. Kind of like Josh Donaldson, the
Yeah,
Yankees.
exactly.
But I got an underrated and an overrated. You might say, how can he be underrated? But I'm going to tell you why. Uh, my underrated Yankee is going to be Bernie Williams. And 297 average, 287 home runs, almost over 1,250 RBIs, switch hitter. But when you talk about the 1998 Yankees and the Joe Torre era Yankees, Derek Jeter takes the icing on the cake. Mariano Rivera, Andy Pettit, even Posada, maybe O'Neill as well, because O'Neill's doing broadcasting now with the S Network. And then it's Bernie Williams. So Bernie was a huge part of those World Series wins, those seasons. And he's never mentioned, again, he's almost a 300 hitter. You don't hear about anything about him for Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So very underrated player in my opinion, because he's a Yankee. He's underrated. Now, if he was on a team, like the Pirates, he'd be, but because he's a Yankee, he gets
Sure.
pushed aside. So I got him as underrated because of that. You're going to like this, but
Nice.
somebody who's going to like this even more, my overrated Yankee, Joey Clams. If you're not listening, I'll make you listen later on. Mr. Aaron Boone is not only overrated as a manager, but as a Yankee player as well. 254 career average. He had his shining moment, against Tim Wakefield. But
Mm.
what else did he do? He didn't do anything. And, he's overrated, in my opinion, as a manager as well. So I can use him as a manager, I guess. I don't. He's had nothing but teams like Joe Torre had, loaded teams, and he doesn't manage. He just watches the game, sits on the top step, chews on his seeds, looks at his red watch one day, black watch another day, green a third day. That's what he does. And then, I just don't. I'm going to use him overrated as a player. I didn't 254 career average, but even more as a manager, in my opinion, because
Okay.
I don't know what it would. I just enough said. I mean, star-studded team, and you can't make adjustments. Play
Hmm.
some small ball, learn small ball. So anyway, I want the Joey Clams, if he's listening out there, my overrated player / manager, Aaron Boone.
Actually, he did the best thing that he ever did for the Yankee organization. Well, somebody might disagree by injuring himself in basketball, and the Yankees wound up getting A-Rod.
That's right.
But
He did.
that's
He did injure himself. Yep. So a little overrated there. We got A-Rod in his place. So that was a good point
nice.
there, Paul. I totally forgot about the basketball there.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, Looking at the time, why don't we get into some predictions?
Okay. Very
Unless
good.
you got anything else you want to do with who's on first, or want to save for next time?
Um, you know what? I had the three bets managers for each team, but we can save that for another time. Let's save that for another
Yeah,
week.
like I said, these are unlimited questions on
Hmm.
and just keep come up with a bunch of stuff. This is all random. So, but all right. Opening day technically was the Padres Dodgers series. I
Mm,
didn't like that because now they come back from there and they got a week of spring training again. Makes no
okay.
sense to me. If you're going to start the season, start it the same days as the other teams and go out to, a day or two before and go to Korea, not a week before. Maybe 2 or 3 days before, and then you come back
Yeah.
and you get your rest and you get ready. But it made no sense for me. But both of those teams are 1-1, Paul. I don't know if that's like that. 2 games into the season, I don't think it's going to affect our decisions on
No.
the West, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Uh,
Yeah.
but we'll do our predictions and wild card, and then on Wednesday we're going to do some more awards and stuff like that, and we'll do our predictions too. Uh, why don't I do it this way, Paul? I'll do it exactly how I see it on the picture here. So, American
Okay.
League West, Paul. We got the
Okay.
Astros. We got the World Series champs Rangers. We got the mighty Astros, who are always there. Seattle, a nice up and coming team, and then the Angels, and of course the A's. A little down,
Hmm.
but curious to see who you're going to pick here because there's definitely 3 that you can go here in this division.
Well, Jody will love to hear what I have to say, so I'm going with the Astros to win the West this year.
You know, I've been back and forth. I think the Rangers are going to fall down to earth a little bit. The Grom is still hurt. Uh, Scherzer, a lot of question marks on that pitching staff. Uh, their bullpen's not that great. I like the Astros, but the Seattle team, I think, has got nice pitching staff, and I'm a true believer in pitching, and you can get that offense. You can find Julio Rodriguez to lead the offense. Seattle Mariners might be the American League sleeper team of the year, and I'm going to pick them to win the AL West, Paul.
Nice. Okay.
Let's move to our co-host on Wednesday's division, Carson Shear, Detroit
Hmm.
Tiger fan out there in Michigan. Got the Twins, who look like the clear favorite. Uh, Guardians, Tigers look to be getting closer. Royals made a couple nice moves. They got Bobby Witt Jr. and the White Sox look like they're in rebuild mode and
Hmm.
resetting. Uh, so, who you like in this division, Paul? It's usually one that's up for grabs.
Uh, Tigers and Guardians are very close for me. I'm picking the Guardians, but when we get to the wild card, Carson will like what I have to hear. But I'm going to go with the Guardians to win the Central.
This Tiger team, Carson's going to like what I got to say. I think they're going to make a big jump this year. Scooble is a nice pitcher. They got Carpenter,
Hmm.
uh, Badu. They got some young players over there.
Hmm.
Uh, Green, Spencer Torkelson. I like their young nucleus. I could see this possibly being the Diamondbacks of last year. Now, Diamondbacks were a wild card team, but of course they
Hmm.
were in the Dodgers division. Tigers have to look up to the Twins. Twins aren't winning 100 games, I don't think. So if you can get 88 to 90 wins, you might win the American League Central. So give me the Tigers in a sneaky sleeper pick here in the AL Central. And then my neck of the woods to round out the American League, and then we'll just do our wild cards real quick, Paul. American League East, Baltimore, nice story last year, 102 wins. Got the Rays are always tough. The Blue Jays made some moves. Of course, Boston and the Yankees. To me, toughest division in baseball. I was going to go Yankees, Paul, if Garrett Cole was healthy. I can't go Yankees to win the division. I got to go back with the Orioles. I like that Corbin Burns move, and they
Hmm.
got Craig Kimbrell now to close games
All
this
right.
year. So I'm going to
Yeah.
go Baltimore, repeat. And the over-under in that one for the Wits and Wagers fans, 89.5. I could see them getting close to 100 again.
Mm. Wow. You would think it would have been a little more. Well, I'm going
Yeah.
to make all the Yankee fans happy. I'm going to go with the Yankees to win the division. I think adding Soto is going to be a big addition to them. I know that Cole is injured, but I think they're going to get support. I think Rondon is going to come back this year, and Cortez is going to come back. So I'm picking the Yankees to win the American League East.
How about some wild card teams, Paul? And then we'll get to the
Hmm.
national.
All right. Um, I went one in each division. I'll start with the West. I also like the Mariners in the American League West. I'm going to pick them to win a wild card team, a wild card. I like the Tigers, as I said. I think they're going to be very close, but they're going to eke out a wild card spot. And your Orioles are also going to win a wild card spot. So those three teams, Orioles, Tigers, and Mariners, as wild card
It's funny.
selections.
We both have the Rangers not making it this year. Little
Yeah.
down year for them. That's funny.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm going Yankees wild card. Hey, if Cole was there, they'd be winning the division. I think they'll make a move by the deadline, get the pitcher they need. You see who's available, and I think down the stretch, I think the Yankees will make those moves this year to get to solidify the wild card. They could be right in the hunt. I'm going Orioles for the division, obviously, but I'm going to go Yankees behind them. Astros, Jody. Hey, you're going to be right there the last week of the season. Again, this could be Astros winning the division, Seattle wild card, or Seattle Astros. Uh, Astros make moves. We all know that. They're not afraid. And then my sleeper one, and there seems to be a sleeper every single year, but they find a way to get there every single year. And that's the Tampa Bay Rays.
Hmm.
Kevin Cash, best manager in baseball, always seems to have this team in the hunt. And I think they'll be in the hunt this year, and they'll get that final wild card spot in the American League. Let's move
Nice.
on to your National League, Paul.
Okay.
We're going to start with the West. I got of course, the Dodgers and Padres. I said started the season, split series. All the news about Otani, is that going to affect the Dodgers come season? Come to the season now, or is this the Dodgers and then everybody else looking behind them?
Well, uh, as I said the other day, Dave Roberts has the most pressure on him to win this year. So, but the Dodgers better win with the talent they have. So I'm picking the Dodgers to win the West.
It's going to be different. I was different on K and K. Crazy things have happened. If Otani was pitching this year, I'd really be worried about the Dodgers if this Otani thing turns into something more. But you can, I'm going to go Padres. I mean, I like their offense. Tatis, Xander Bogaerts, Machado, uh, Cronenworth. They got pitching. They got
Mhm.
Yu Darvish, Musgrove, Dylan Cease. They got from the White Sox. Michael
Mhm.
King in the trade for Soto. They got some pitching. I think the Padres could be in for a sneaky good year this year, and I'm going to go
Nice.
Padres just to be different over the
Okay.
Dodgers. The Central's another tough one here. Uh, got the Cubs, the Reds, Brewers, Cardinals, Pirates. Seem to all be bunched together. These teams could all be fighting for division title come last week of the season. Uh, some teams made a couple moves. Some teams lost a couple players. Who do you see coming out of this one, Paul?
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if the Cardinals went from worst to first and finished first in the Central, but I love the way the Cincinnati Red young players are coming on. And I think this could be the year that they put it all together. They have another kid that's going to start the season. He's barely 20 years old in center field for them. So you add this kid with Dela Cruz and some of the other talent that they have. So I'm going to pick, as a long shot, I'm going to pick the Reds to win the division this year.
Yeah, you know what? Sign me up. Did it Wednesday. I took the Reds as well. Ellie Dela Cruz. They're young infield, young all around. Yeah, they lost Joey Votto, the true veteran on that team, the you know true MVP of that team. But I think that they got enough young talent in a mediocre division to be worth a shot here. Uh, Cardinals, I could see them getting off to a slow start again, and you might see teams inquiring about Goldschmidt and Arenado, or the Cardinals
Mhm.
trying to uh, unload them because they're getting up in age, those two players, and they're on their declining years, I think. So I'm going to go Reds as well, Paul, and it would not surprise me if the Pirates won this division. That's how open this division is, in my opinion. Uh,
Yeah.
Last
Pirates
but
have a
not
lot of young.
least, they do. They do. Last but not least, your NL East. I'm sorry. Uh,
Mhm.
of course, the Atlanta Braves on top of the list there. Uh, we all know how good they are. They seem to have everything, but can somebody knock them off? Could it be the Phillies? Bryce Harper, Schwarber, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, former Met.
Mhm.
Could it be the Marlins? The Marlins with their young pitching down there in Miami. A couple years ago when COVID struck, shortened season, they won the division. Or could it be the Nationals who are in a young rebuilding mode? Or Paul's mighty Mets? Uh, you know, they just signed J.D. Martinez. They got a lot of their offense looks pretty solid. Pitching question mark. Could any of these teams take the Braves, Paul, or is it going to be the Braves?
Unfortunately, it's gonna be the Braves again. I just don't see them losing out. I mean, short of having a catastrophic injury to Ronald Acuna, or Max Fried goes down again, or some other major issue. But they are just too talented, both starting pitching. Maybe their bullpen might be a little weak, but their offense 1 through 9 is just, too strong. Phillies can give them a tough fight in the division. Like you said, Nola came back. The offense for the Phillies is can be as good as any team in the National League, but I'm gonna go with the Braves again as the division winner.
Why not the Phillies? Why not the Phillies? I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to take the Phillies in a crazy year in baseball. So Phillies will take the division. Bryce Harper is going to have an MVP year, and we're going to have our MVP picks on Wednesday. But just a little
Mhm.
spoiler alert, where I may be going on Wednesday with my MVP. Uh,
Hint, hint.
hint, hint. But I'm going to take the Phillies in this one, and then real quick, pull your wild card, and then we'll get our final thoughts in for tonight.
All right. Well, I said Cardinals could go from worst to first. But I'm picking them to be a wild card team, uh, a team in the West that could conceivably, they've improved themselves tremendously, could fight for first if something happens with the Dodgers, the Giants. Uh, they're rivals for many years. I'm going to pick them to win a wild card. And I'll go with the Phillies. They may not beat the Braves out, in my opinion, but they will be right there once again fighting for a wild card. So Phillies, Giants, Cardinals as my wild card teams.
All right, you ready for my wild scenario? I told you it's going to be wild, the National League this year, right?
Okay.
Dodgers wild card, Braves wild card. They're going to be playing in that first game, so somebody's going to get knocked out in that first game.
Mm,
And who are they going to play? Paul's
the
Mets. I can't
Mets.
believe I'm
Mets.
saying it,
I
but I'll
can't
tell you
believe you're
why.
saying that.
But I'll tell you why. Offensively, they can match up against any team in this league. Bullpen, you got Diaz now. Let's hope he comes back to 75, 80% Edwin Diaz. Best closer in baseball. If he's 80%, I still think he's the best. You got your setup guys. If they can set up, give me 5 innings as Mets pitchers. Give me 5 innings, and then I'll play with my bullpen and be a sneaky wild card team here. 88 wins. I think I'll get 88 to 90 wins. Make a move or two at the deadline. Don't be afraid if you're so-called overachieving, but with your offense of Alonso, Lindor, J.D. Martinez in the middle of the lineup, that's as good as anybody in the National League, in my opinion. And then add Marte and Nimmo and Alvarez. I don't see many better than that, Paul. I don't. So Offensively, I think you can be there. You might be winning or losing a lot of games in double digits, but you
Mm,
know, get your starting pitching through 5, 6 innings. You don't have to worry about the pitcher hitting anymore, so you don't have to worry about that. You got a DH now, so I think get a pitcher or two at the deadline, make a couple small moves. Mets are the sneaky wild card team in the National League.
all right. Well, from your mouth to God's ears, I love it.
Anyway, anything else with the picks, Paul, or we'll get our final thoughts in?
You want to do winners of the leagues and the World Series champ?
Yeah, we'll do that real quick. Yep.
Okay, go
All
ahead.
right, I'll go first. Yeah, I'll go first. American League Championship Series is going to be Yankees versus Astros. Yankees make some kind of big move. Shane Bieber, like Kurt said, this will be the Yankees' year to get to the World Series. And who are they going to play? They're going to play the Atlanta Braves, and the Atlanta Braves beat the Yankees. Every year, wild card team makes it to the World Series. Well, this year, two of them, Yankees and Braves, are going to make it as wild cards, and the Braves are going to beat us. They're just going to be too tough. Braves beat us in 6 games to take the World Series.
Well, it's crazy. We've had so many similar type of outcomes and thoughts. As we always say, we're brothers from another mother. But my predictions, it's written right here a few days ago. Yankees in the American League beating the Astros. Braves in the National League beating the Phillies. Braves Yankees World Series. Braves winning and being World Series champions. So crazy how similar we think about certain things.
My only difference was Braves over Padres, because the
Oh,
Braves and
okay.
Dodgers are playing in that play-in
Right,
for me.
right.
So I have the Braves beating
Yeah.
the Padres
Right.
pretty easily to get to the World Series.
Mm-hmm. All
Because
right.
here's going to be
We
my
shall
scenario
see.
real quick. Yeah, well, I look at scenarios in my head. Like, how can the Dodgers get beat? How can the Braves get beat? Well, one of the Braves pitchers is going to be hurt for not a season-ending injury, but for a couple months, couple
Mm-hmm.
injuries on their team. Maybe one of their star players gets hurt for a couple months, but they have enough firepower to get to the wild card, and they get all their players back with like a month left in the season, and they don't look
Mm-hmm.
back after that. That's
Yeah.
what I look for, crazy scenarios like that.
Okay.
So,
I like it.
final thoughts,
All
Paul.
right. Another wonderful show. Love talking. Our style of a baseball show with everyone. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Jody. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, Mr. Kirkpatrick. Always a pleasure talking Yankees Mets, and looking forward to continuing this fun journey.
Yeah, you said it best, Paul. This has been a lot of fun, and can't wait to do this again. We're going to be doing this mostly every other week, but maybe when baseball season gets into full effect, we'll do it a little more. Again, not much news, just going to throw some fun stuff at you. We'll throw the news out there at the beginning of the show in like Chris Berman style, the fastest 2 minutes of news, baseball
Right.
news around. But no, fun times, like I said. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see everybody Wednesday for K&K Sports Show, baseball preview show, and some March Madness. So be sure to tune into that, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll see everybody then. Have a good night, everybody.